Hey, Adrian.
Hey, Kathy, how's it going today?
Good. Hey, I am excited to have you on, and we're going to talk today about securing your legacy. So I know that's something that you and I are very interested or passionate about in training, just the educating the public on this. So before we jump into that, let's talk a little about you. Tell me, or tell the audience. I know you, obviously. We have been in friendship and partnership for a long time, but share a little bit for people who don't know you, a little bit about your background and real estate.
Sure. So I'm a native to Nashville, born and raised here and lived here all my life. And I'm married and have two kiddos, one who's a senior in high school and the other one who's eighth grade. And my family and I, we live in Smyrna. And so I've been in real estate for 23 years this year, and as a licensed realtor, and entered into the real estate realm from the investment side a few years prior to that. And so just have a lot of love and respect for our industry and for just for the realtors around in our community as well.
Fantastic. So, like you said, you've been in real estate for 23 years, and over just the last year and a half, I know you've done a lot of, you have done a lot of multiple different kinds of real estate, right? And like you said, you started out investing, and then you're in the quote unquote traditional real estate space, and over the last year or so, you have really gotten yourself very well educated in the whole estate planning. You've done many of those sales over your career where you worked alongside of people that are selling an estate due to situations and life happenings. So, talk just a little bit about that. One of the things that I think you and I have talked about is so many people just, they don't deal with that until they're forced to deal with that. So let me actually back up and ask you what got you interested in really doing what you do in this space, and we're going to talk about that. You've created, um, a whole workshop slash seminar education around that. We'll get to that in a minute, but what got you to the space where you have this passion about this topic?
Right. So, I mean, I have a heart to serve, and serving my clients is just, it just comes very natural for me. And more specifically, in this space of the the estate world and or probate, my clients, I really don't know how it happened the way that it did, but I had multiple clients that needed assistance with selling their properties due to the death of a loved one. And so just being able to transition them through the selling of the real estate and all the many um, steps that need to happen look very different than that of just a traditional sale and a traditional transaction with, if you're going to list your house and sale. When you are in a probate situation and or settling a state, it looks a lot different. And so I was able to just walk along the side of my clients um, who had, various different situations going on, whether it was the sale of a loved one's home that had passed, or an actual probate situation and or a trust. And so I just gained a lot of experience while just helping my clients get to the end of that um, season of their life. And so then I had a situation my own self that happened last year, and I lost my brother um, suddenly. And at that very moment, I was also working with two other clients in the selling an estate. And for me, it just really catapulted me into an awareness that so many people just don't know what to do when
Mm.
life happens, and they must settle the affairs of their loved ones. And and have to do all that simultaneously while trying to grieve. And so my heartbeat has become helping and assisting people in that space where they need to settle the affairs of others and also have to walk through grief at the same time.
Yeah. So it's a different, from the realtor side of things where you and I are at, it's a different walk with those people, right? And serving them, educating them. What would you say maybe is one of the bigger things that's different in trying to help somebody navigate that versus just selling a house where it isn't an estate situation that, is going on?
I would say, hands down, the magnitude of emotions that are involved.
Yeah.
When you're selling your home, oftentimes, if it's just a general transaction, there's a lot of excitement. There is a lot of anticipation, anxiety that surrounds that. Um, just because, as you list your house and get ready for the market and the anticipation of selling your house and moving to the next, there's a lot of fun and enjoyment that comes along with that. Whereas when
Mhm.
you're dealing with closing out the affairs of a loved one, as I said, you're dealing with a tremendous amount of grief and a lot of emotions that's often attached to the property that's being sold, in addition to the multiple other financial decisions that are having to happen, while all this is moving down, the course of close. And so I would say, hands down, it takes a very special relationship to be
Yeah.
able for the realtor as well as the client to be able to lock hands and get you through it. It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, on top of the emotions, I feel like, there's a lot of different moving parts because there's a lot of legal things involved and all of that, right? And so there's so many more intricacies on top of just a transaction, which is there's already a lot of
Yeah,
different intricacies in that. But then when you add in that it's an estate situation, it to me it magnifies all the there's just so many more things that we've got to be aware of, right?
right.
To navigate through that situation. So, what have you found to be maybe the biggest misconception or the biggest pitfall? So, when you have dealt with people that are, you're doing an estate situation because of circumstances, what have you found to be, the number one pitfall for people there?
I
As you
think, Kathy, people have great intentions, and of course, when you're excited about buying a house and you get in and you get all the stuff settled and what have you, oftentimes people just fail to plan.
Yeah.
And when you fail to plan, then as the saying goes, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And so that not having their affairs in order to be able to just protect themselves as well as their loved ones, um, what ends up happening is something, life, death is one of the things that we know is going to happen for sure. And death comes, and it wasn't taken care of in advance. The directives were not taken care of in advance. And it places the people who are left behind in very difficult situations. And sometimes that can look it can look chaotic,
Yeah.
and it's oftentimes left to the state to handle that at that point. And people don't understand that. And so, well, a lot of times when I am working with clients, what the main thing is that we're working through is the intricacies of what's wasn't handled ahead of time. And so it leaves a lot of ambiguity behind. And for the person who's having to make all these decisions, it leaves a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So that, I would say, is probably the biggest pitfall, is the lack of planning in advance.
So what's the number one thing that you think people should plan, before their loved ones or their family, finds them in that situation where it's like, oh my goodness, something's happened to one of my loved ones, and now, which really happened to you with your brother, right? You had to sort of pick the ball up, and you ended up having to be the main person that was really trying to navigate everything, not only, affairs and money and all of that, but, arrangements, which is a separate topic. But what would you say is the number one thing people should do so that, in securing their legacy?
So I would say the number one thing is you need to learn about either a will or a trust and what you should do to secure your legacy and protect your family members from having to enter into probate.
Yeah.
People do not understand that world and the complexities that go along with that world and the time frame. So when someone passes and if they own a piece of property and you enter into probate, you're going to be in the court systems from 9 to anywhere upwards of 18 months. And so there's so many, as you said, so many moving parts in there. The number one thing that you can do is get a will in place or a trust in place, and go ahead and speak with an attorney about doing that. And as you said, one of the things that I feel very passionate about is educating the public, and so I've partnered with an attorney to be able to give that legal advice to you, to the community as a whole, free of charge, so that you can get yourself, in order, so that when the time comes, it's not if, it's just when the time comes that you have handled those things well.
Yeah. So to be clear, he gives the free advice, not the free will or the estate, right? Right. Okay, just wanted to confirm that. So, talking about wills versus an estate, one thing that I found interesting is I always thought years ago when, Steve and I did our estate, I always thought that an estate was for the uber wealthy people, right? We always hear, everybody hears, you hear from a young age, 18, 19, 20 years old, everybody needs a will, everyone needs a will. And I always thought the estate was just for the uber wealthy. Well, what I come to find out when we spoke with our attorney, which both of us have the same attorney in the real estate space, you and I. And so I found out, no, we need to really do it's not for that. It's a misconception. But the other thing, or it's really a myth, but then the other thing that I found out, which blew me away too, is that, and I'm like, why do we not educate people about this? That's why I love what you're doing. But is as you mentioned, with a will, you had to go through probate. Mm-hmm. Somebody has an estate, they avoid probate. Mm-hmm. Right. So I thought that was huge, right? To when we sat down and we were trying to, put everything in place that we need to have in place, that was one of the things for Steve and I was like, man, if we could minimize really all the heartache and everything that happens for a family member that's dealing with your estate, if we can minimize that, which I feel like having a trust does that more so than a will. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So it's going to be more cost effective in the long run. Yes, for a trust. With a will, you're going to be paying the cost of the attorney to go in and probate that and handle all the things. As I said, over a 9 to 18 month period. So the court cost and the attorney fees can really, really rack up. But a will, if you have nothing, a will is better than having nothing.
Better than nothing.
Right. A will's better than having nothing. A trust just gives you an even added measure of security there, and gives you the opportunity to make some bigger decisions and direct what you want to have happen to your affairs in a way that keeps the state out of it. So it's a pass through versus having to stop with all the legalities that go along with the state of Tennessee, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. And every state's different, but I would venture to guess that that a lot of them are similar, right? In how what that looks like. And there's just so many other things that, go along with securing your legacy. I mean, we all work hard to be able to achieve and to gain, the American dream of home ownership.
Right.
And, you and I have seen over our careers so many families that what your intention is when you leave, and if you have children or whomever you're going to bless your home with, when that time happens. We've seen so many times, families tore apart through, when people, specifically, I feel like when people leave without a will or leave without having an estate set up, and then there's differing opinions about how things should be handled, about who gets what, about how the money's split, on and on and on, right? And
Yes.
so not only from just a responsible thing to do to be able to have your own wishes out, is having one in place, but really to hopefully avoid family conflicts. If it's all laid out, it's now somebody's just executing the will or they're executing the trust.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. And that people do not recognize and or even realize until you're in the throes of it,
Yeah.
how many things can occur with family, and
Yeah.
what you would never imagine while people are living. Let somebody pass and things can go crazy really quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's just one more way that a person can make sure and help to avoid conflict, and an added measure of stress at a time where it's already difficult.
Yeah. Well, we could just unpack this in so many different ways, but as I mentioned to start, you have created, really a free workshop for, along with your attorney Mark Bell, to really bring education to people,
Yes.
so that they know, they get themselves educated, and then at least you can make educated decisions on moving forward, right, or not.
Yes.
Uh, but you're but you're having a one of these workshops coming up pretty soon. So tell me the details about that. And then I know you've got a flyer and everything. So I'd love to be able to put that into the comments. So anybody that would be interested in coming, well, you have an Eventbrite link, right? Don't you
Yep.
have it set up as an Eventbrite? So
Mhm.
that's what we'll do. We'll put the Eventbrite link in the comments, and then people can, see the flyer attached and a little bit more details about what you're going to be talking about. And Mark is going to be educating on, and they can get themselves registered if they want to come. So just give a 5-10 second overview on what somebody, what else are they going to learn when they come to this?
Absolutely. So Mark Bell is an estate attorney here in Tennessee. He is one of the top-ranked attorneys that handles estates, and he is extremely knowledgeable in this field. And he and I partnered together. We'll host Secure Your Legacy workshop on April the 18th at 12 o'clock in Brentwood, and seats are limited, so definitely register for your seat with the secured link below. And what he's going to be able to do is, again, he's just giving you the top things that you need to consider when doing a will and or considering doing a trust, advanced directives, healthcare advanced directives when you need medical attention and you're unable to actually communicate those things. He's also going to talk about probate and what that process actually looks like. And then together, he and I will open it up for question and answers for you to just be able to throw out there what is, if you've never considered these things, you have the opportunity within this 1 hour to ask those questions to myself and or to Mark to be able to get the answers to be able to help you move forward and make the next right choice for you and your family, so that when the time comes that you've handled your affairs, as well as potentially those family members that may need assistance in doing that as well. So your mother, your brother, your father, and yourself included. So it's going to be an opportunity for you to be able to come out and hear from somebody that has years and years of knowledge in this field, and then ask any questions that you want. It'll be from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock that day, and it's free of charge. Just come and learn a little bit more about what you can do to secure your legacy.
I love it. And you're talking about Mark and all his knowledge. Well, you've got a lot of knowledge too, and you have got yourself specific designations and training and education in around this topic specifically on helping people, guide them through this process. So I love what you're doing and what you've put together for educating the public on this because it's such a needed area for people to get educated about. So I love that you're doing that, and thank you for joining me today and sharing just a little bit about it. And I hope what we've done here is got people really just thinking about, a lot of times people think, oh, I know I need to do that, and then they don't do it,
Yes.
right? And so if we could come through this screen and you're listening to this, we're going to be like, just do it. Come to this, get educated, and please just make sure that you're setting up your legacy for your family. If
Absolutely.
nothing else, just for your family, so that they're not, dealing with the heartache along with all these other stresses that, if you leave things undone for them to have to handle.
Yes. That's absolutely the key right there. Just do it. Get the education, take the steps, and handle the things that need to be handled. Because as we all know, death is a reality, but we can plan well for that and
Yeah.
leave those that are left here behind with a way to be able to manage and handle everything else as well as they can in their time of need. So
Yeah.
come out.
All right. Well, y'all, we'll have the link in the comments. Get yourself registered and go see Adrian and Mark and get educated. And thanks again, Adrian, for being on and sharing your knowledge today.
Thank you so much. You have a
All right.
blessed day.
You too.